Hello everyone, welcome back to the Addicted Bookworm, where my addiction is all over the internet. On this channel I do library book hauls, book reviews, both physical and digital, audiobooks, and so much more. As most people probably know, I am listening to the audiobook version of Dungeon Crawling Carl, and having a lot of fun with that, but that is not what this video is about. This video is about another series that I am returning back to because there's a total of 7 books in the series. I've only read 6 of them, and so the 7th book will be a new book for me. So the title of the name of the series is Keys to the Kingdom by Garth Nix, and it's about a boy called Arthur Penhaligon, though I'm probably mispronouncing his last name. And he finds himself in this adventure with this place called the House. It is basically the center of the entire universe, and it is the center of Arthur Penhaligon's adventures. The Keys of the Kingdom was published during a time that I would like to call the last great fantasy decade. And what I mean by that is that this is a true young adult fantasy series. This is not a romantasy. This is not any of that type of stuff. It is fantasy. It is for young adults, and this is during a time when young adult fantasy was meant for young adults. I read the series when I was in my early 20s, so it is a 20-some-year-old series. And even though I was not the demographic that this series was intended for, and nobody asked me for my ID, I really found the idea of this mortal boy who has lost his biological parents. He was adopted. He has asthma. So yeah, there's some representation there for people that are interested in that. But it is a story of a young man who has to basically summon up all his courage, his determination, his tenacity, while he encounters these very fantastical worlds and these very fantastical creatures. So, as I said, there's a total of 7 books in the series, and each book represents a day of the week. And we have 7 trustees who have all been corrupted by their power. There is some mythology in the series. We have the children of the Pied Piper, and one of them is Susie Turquoise Blue, or Susie Blue, who is who works down in the printing area. Arthur Penhaligon's journey really led me to believe that young people could enjoy a good fantasy book. Now this was published during the time when the Harry Potter movies were coming out, and it was you had authors like Jenny Nemo, who I thought was deceased. She actually is not. She's 81 years old. And that's another series that I definitely am going to be revisiting, which is The Children of the Red King. And I actually discovered that from 2010 all the way to maybe, I think, 2016 or 2019, she continued with The World of the Red King, which I thought was really great. But by the time you get to 2019, things in the literary world had changed. People were no longer willing to allow young adults to have their own genre. They were increasingly going into that genre and being very open about their love for certain series. Now, I'm not going to use this video to go into debates and about this and that. That's not the point of the video. The point of the video is to basically all of you know that I will be, or I have been, or I have started revisiting the series of from Garth Nix. Now, for people that don't know about the Keys to the Kingdom, especially if you were born in, like, say, like 2009, you know, the series was over by the time you reached adulthood, or even the age that the series was supposed to be for. You may not know about this series, and there are people that are posting review videos of this series. They re-released it in brand new cover art, which I thought was really cool. But I actually got the first book in the Keys of the Kingdom, Mr. Monday, off of Amazon, original cover art. In all honesty, the original cover art is actually a lot more haunting than the new redesigned cover art. It really shows more of, like, the gloom and just the amazement and the wonder of the house, and also some of the creatures that inhabit the house, and some of the creatures that that are part of that. So, Mr. Monday is the first book in the series, and I don't know how many chapters there are in the series. I am currently on chapter 5. I will be doing a impression video of chapters 1 through 5 today, but I will not be uploading that video until Monday. So this is sort of a just talking about what to expect with this one as well. So every Monday until the book is finished, I will be doing impression videos. This will include characters that I encountered, how I felt about them, backstory of, like, Arthur Penhaligon, things like that. And so, as I said, I have only read 6 of the 7 books. The 7th book, when I do get to it, will be the first time reading it. And I am very super excited about reaching that one. But for you to get to Sunday, you have to follow Arthur as he goes through each day of the week. Now, in this world, without spoiling anything, the trustees oversee a single day of the week. In fact, they're named after a day in the week. And as I said, they are super corrupted. They believe they are better than everyone else. They are doing everything in their power to keep this will from basically being fulfilled. And the opening of the book, and I'm just going to say one line, absolutely impressive. And what I mean by that is that you don't get openings like this at all. The description of the characters, what they wear, how this thing was created, what materials were used to imprison the first part of the will. The first part of the will is directed towards Mr. Monday to find the heir that will basically fulfill all 7 parts of the will. And you don't see this kind of thing in modern fantasy. Keys of the Kingdom is not a romantasy. Thing is, when Keys of the Kingdom was published at the time, when Garth Nix published Keys of the Kingdom, there was no such thing as romantasy. Yes, there was fantasy books that had a little bit of romance, or kind of, whatever you want to call it. Even today, there is still a lot of modern fantasy that has tinges of romance, or maybe the male character is attracted to a woman in the group. It doesn't make it a romantasy. It definitely would most likely make it a high fantasy. But nowadays, it's all clumped together, which is unfortunate. In the early 2000s, even going all the way as far as when Jenny Nemo published her last Children of the Red King, which was not with Charlie. I further note, not with Charlie, though. Like I said, I think I stopped reading that series after the fourth book. It started going closer to what we see in more modern fantasy, with the romantasy aspect of it and stuff like that. So definitely a lot different. So like that's why I will say that from 2000 to 2010 was what I would call the last great fantasy decade, before we have the slop and the, pardon my French, the shit that is in modern romantasy. So for me, being a 45-year-old woman who is revisiting a series I read back in my 20s, people might think you are way too old for this series. But I kind of want to really emphasize a lot of the stuff that I read in the series, and the descriptions and things like that. And I kind of want to actually finish the series that I had every whatever to actually do it. And what sucks is I went past the bookstore and they had the display for I think it was Lady Sunday or something like that. I know it's something Sunday, and feeling like that I was missing out on something, that I didn't get a chance to finish the series. And I remember when the pages were crisp and white and beautiful, and nowadays if you happen to pull out a 20-some-year copy of Keys to the Kingdom, they're yellowed and they're aged and everything. But it was beautiful to have that memory of those white pages and how beautiful they were and how they smelled new and everything. But anyways, after I'm done with Keys to the Kingdom, I will go ahead and start on the Charlie Bone series. Once again, revisiting Charlie Bone and his friends as he navigates Bloor's Academy, and kind of give a little bit of a background of these characters, how they're connected to the Red King and everything. So I do not know when I will finish that series, but I will be releasing my Mr. Monday videos every Monday, and then when we go into Tuesday, it'll be every Tuesday. It'll go on and on until we get to Sunday. So anyways, I hope you guys will enjoy the videos that I will be releasing, and I will see you next time. Bye.